All right, shalom, everyone. And the crowd went wild. Okay, so it's Torah Tuesdays. All right, so tonight we're going to go, as always, on Tuesday nights through our weekly Torah portion study as we go through the one-year cycle of Genesis to Deuteronomy. We're in the book of Leviticus at the moment. And so for those of you that are new and just found us, so that we're going to be here for about the next couple hours. We're going to read this week's Torah portion, which is a short one because it's one that's normally part of a double, so we're only doing it as a single this year. So it's going to be fairly quick. And it also has some really, don't go out and eat afterwards, okay? I mean, it's some really gross stuff going on in this week's Torah portion. But it is, and next week's as well. But it is something that it's interesting for us to understand and learn what was going on in those days, even though it's not things necessarily that would apply to us today because of the lack of an existence of the temple, right? The temple is what this is all about. Okay, so what we're going to do is start off with prayer time. We have a microphone up here with Paul's got the mic, and then, of course, we got Grayson on the live stream desk. He'll be taking down any prayer or praises that need to be addressed. If anybody wants to come up, going once, going twice. Everybody's doing good? Awesome. Well, Grayson, it goes right to you immediately.
Michael and Ashley Condon, praise Yahweh, we are 5 minutes out. I don't have to miss Torah study.
So they're on Torah study to tell us they're going to be at Torah study. That's great.
Other than that, there's just not enough time for them to be able to get their stuff in. So we might have to wait a little bit.
Okay, we can wait a minute. All right, Janet's going to give us one so that we'll buy some time here.
No, I truly have one, Rabbi.
Okay, good.
We've been looking for a car. We need a car for my husband, a car for Valentina, and so just discernment to see which one, but also agreement on what we need to get between me and my husband. Thank you.
Okay. Many a marriage is ended over picking a car. No, I'm kidding. All right, so choose your battles wisely. All right, so we certainly can pray for that. I mean, we don't want to get into that sort of mainstream sort of idea like, it matters to the creator what, kind of car, what color it is. But you guys want to come into agreement of what's the right type of car for what you're trying to have it do and that kind of thing. So that's more about that, okay? Because I know sometimes people come from a background where you wouldn't, buy anything without praying about it first and everything else. And that's not really what Scripture talks about there. But praying for wisdom and guidance that you make a good decision about, do we spend this much or that much? Do we get this type or that type of car? Yeah, I can understand that. Mainly that you guys would agree. That's important. All right. Anybody else? A few people came in later. Nope. Grayson, you ready now?
I have a praise that I can share to create some more time.
There you go.
So on Sunday, I ended up waking up super early so I could get a work shift in before spending the day with family. And then that was really great and an amazing opportunity. And I just had, my stream went beyond I would expect it to go with how short it was. And then the next day, I just had one of the most blessed days I've had in my career, because when I moved out here, I had around 450 subs a month that I would get in, and that I was living off of. And on Monday, I got around 800 subs on the day, and it was just, didn't have words to express just the amount of blessing that I've been seeing in my life. And it's just, I know it's only a result of me doing my best each and every day to just try to be less of who I am and more like who He is. And I'm just really thankful that there's plenty of fruit in my life to attest for that.
Amen. Look, I love when you, especially some of the younger ones, give their testimonies to applying what we're teaching here, applying what is taught through Scripture, and seeing the fruit and being blessed by it. 450 subs in a month to go to 800 in a day, that's a pretty good jump. That's a pretty good jump. Okay. And we're very excited for you. We also know that you're in I don't know how the right way to say this, in an industry where, maintaining a good character, maintaining character is not always what gets the attention of everybody. And for you to do this in a way that shows integrity to your character and doesn't, compromise into what normally tends to get people's attention on the social media type things and the things that you're doing, is praiseworthy. Okay, I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, we can clap for that. It's good. All right, Mr. Chris.
Something Grayson said just reminded me of experience. I don't know if it has to do with what he said really, but it just reminded me. It was last night. I went to work, and my shift is from 3 to 10, and of course, if the deli is not closed by 10 p.m., you kind of have to go over or whatever. I've always had this kind of, not really bitterness, but but it's after 10, the time I'm supposed to be here is ended and I have schoolwork to do, or I have whatever. And usually there's nothing really that's pressing that I need to do after, and you get paid to do it, whatever, until it's done. And there's this one guy, and a lot of people are kind of have the same way of thinking as me, I guess. But there's this one guy, and people talk about how he has OCD, so he washes dishes very slowly. But he has his work ethic where he'll stay up all the way to 1 a.m. to get the deli ready for the morning, even though I don't know if you could technically just leave at whatever time because there's nobody there to clock out and check you. But last night, for different reasons, we were really late closing, and it went past 10, it went past 11, it went past 12, and I was still working with this guy, and because me and him were supposed to close, and so because they had some people going until 9 p.m., some people to 10, but for me to 10, that means whenever we're done. But I was able to hang in there and just keep working, not cut corners because we're supposed to get out of here, but just get the work done as it has to be done the right way, regardless of how much time it takes.
Did I mention ever about the stories that people tell up here for minutes and minutes and minutes and never get to their point?
Oh, well, okay, my point
was... I'm sorry, I know you want to make a praise, but too much detail.
Okay, I'm sorry. But the praise is that I had a real change of thinking about how I'm at work and willing to go far, I guess. Good.
Excellent. I'm sorry, I don't want to be strong with anybody, but when we start to get 200 and 300 people wanting to do this, it's going to be a little tough. Okay? Let's get up there and just get right to the point, and what necessary pieces of it is, then bring those pieces in. Okay. Ashley, who is now here after texting and typing into the chat.
I did not. That was my husband. I was driving.
All right.
Because he's not allowed to drive for the next couple of days after last week. I just wanted to make a couple of praises. One, we made it here safe and sound, and we'll find out the results of Agnes's in a few weeks. But the big praise is she really pushed herself. We went to the climb last night, and with her having low muscle tone, her lights give out quite a bit. She pushed herself so hard where she literally... her body gave out while she was halfway up the wall.
Well, good.
And she couldn't push away from the wall, nothing. She was frozen there, and we're like, just fall. You're fine. Just fall. We're here. Yahweh's got you. And as she was coming down, she goes, Yahweh, save me. So it was so cute. I missed the recording of doing that, but it was just, I'll never forget it. And then...
well, she's glad you'll forget it, though. And don't have the recording.
Yeah. And then the other big praise is I've learned that I don't believe in myself a lot, and I need to start changing that a bit. My husband and I went on our first date for since Agnes has been born. And we went to the escape room last night. We picked the hardest one, 9 out of 10, just 2 people, supposed to be 8 people to play it. And it was a prison break to where I'm separated from him. We're supposed to communicate.
Okay, hold on. Now we're doing the story thing
No,
again.
no, I'm almost done. We had to communicate. I'm deaf. I can't hear him. And we were able to escape it and got out with 1 minute and 14 seconds. So I need to trust myself a bit more.
All right. Okay. All right. Grayson.
So there's many unspoken. From Ymca Perez, prayers for my daughter and husband for guidance and wisdom. From Kay Carrick, prayers. I'm not feeling well. I'm having some breathing issues. Ymca Perez prays for Abba's mercy and compassion. From Bob Crone, please pray for back healing and wisdom. From Carrie Ann Worthy, prayer request, please pray for my husband Carl. He's really sick, and continued prayers for father, please. Thank you, family. From Ymca Perez, prayers for our family and deliverance from evil. From Justin Snyder, prayer for favor in my interview tomorrow. From Shirley Akpelu, prayers for discernment and comfort to be led by Ruach. From Nancy Aragon, pray for my friend Debbie. They are suspecting cancer. She'll be going through extensive testing. From Yanni, prayers for safe travel to Germany Thursday morning, 8 hours in train. From Walk Softly Upon the Earth, if we're needing praise reports, my husband has his MTOI seats on, and we're praying that he is as popular as you, Grayson, on Twitch. From Justin Snyder, praise, I met another brother in the faith at Walmart who noticed my seats. From Stephanie Henderson, please pray for this continual pain and migraines going in for the EDG scope in the morning. From Jess D, needed prayer for a better job. From Shirley Akpelu, employment prayers for all who are seeking employment. And then there's many unspoken. From Shelley Bell Perez, praises for all of you at MTOI and prayer for sisters and brothers having physical and mental health challenges, and for Abba to continue to show me the leaven I need to get out to be vertically aligned. Thank you. From MTOI Philippines Jet, praise report. We're just so humbled and blessed to have more families joining our Pesach, and there are at least 70 participants, and praise Yahweh.
Amen. Awesome.
From Shelley Bell Perez, prayers for a sister to get the right employment and for her to get an affordable place to live. And then there are many unspoken, and that is all.
Amen. Amen. All right, so, and I don't want to sound like I'm Mr. Cranky Pants over here, so I want to smile and not get you guys thinking that way. But just so we understand the point of praise and prayer time, praises should be one of two things. Either one, it's something that we've been praying about and you've got to praise that it was answered. Or two, it's something that if you shared it, it might inspire others because of the praise that you have, of the intervention or whatever it was that Abba did or the provision that he provided for you. And so, because all of us should theoretically, I mean, not even theoretically, in reality, should be able to come up and have praises every day for things that are every day. So a lot of you are still coming up and giving praises of things that are everybody's everyday stuff. Some of them are really incredible, though, and those are the ones we want to hear those. And I don't want you to pre-filter and judge yourself saying, well, I wonder if this is good enough. Well, if it's something that if you heard it, it would inspire somebody, as opposed to you just want people to know something good happened to you. Do you understand the difference? Okay, because we have, again, at times, a limited amount of time. And we do want to really get excited about what Abba's doing in your life when it's something that is profound that may inspire somebody because of stepping out in some way and getting a result or having a challenge and hanging in there and then seeing the intervention. Does that make sense? Okay? And then as far as the prayer requests, again, these are prayer requests, not the ones that everybody has. Okay, everybody's praying for their marriages or praying for their sniffles if they have the sniffles or something. But if there's something major that you want to get everybody behind, that you need, to have a sense that the corporate body is right there with you, praying with you. Does that make more clarity then for what we're looking to do? Because all of us should be praying for each other all the time anyway, for all that stuff, that whatever's going on out there, Father, whatever's going on in everybody else's life, please give them what they need and help them see what they need to do in order to be where they need to be. It's that kind of thing. Answer the prayers as you want to answer them so that they will have the best opportunities to do the things to become more like you. And so I just want to encourage us to do that, because I know that it's easy to get into this way, and then we get the same 7 people that want to come up that and I'm not picking on anybody, but it almost feels like you just like the microphone, okay? Because everybody could get up and should be able to get up every day. And if you can't, then you're not looking for things properly in your life. There is stuff every day if you're looking for it. Amen? That you should be praising him for every day. Okay, but the prayer corporate time is for the really big things or the really inspiring things. Because even if it's a small thing, but it was really inspiring, because maybe you haven't been inspired by a small thing. That could be it also. You understand what I'm trying to get at here? Okay, I just want to make that clear. Because I do expect that we're going to keep growing. Now, Tuesday nights are a little bit different. Of course, tonight we have a fairly short Torah portion, so we could have done prayer all night and we still would have had plenty of time. But also then we do this on Saturdays where we are getting less and less time by the time we get to the teaching, because between the announcements and the prayer time, we're losing half the service. Now, I can fix one of those. That's the announcements time. Okay, I can't fix the other side of it. All right. So that being said, I need someone to go ahead and open us up in prayer and pray for the study tonight. Okay? Let's go ahead and have Rabbi Tom. Rabbi has not. Come on, drive up here, Rabbi, so we can get you on the camera. We'll get you right there in front. Good, right there. Perfect.
Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King. Father, we come before you on this evening. As we delve into your Torah, Father, we ask you to open our hearts and our minds. And Father, give us the understanding and the wisdom that we need to apply your Torah to our lives. Father, we thank you for all that you've given us. We thank you for having called us into this great work. And we thank you most of all, Father, for your living Torah, Yeshua Messiah, who shows us the way to salvation. It's in his name and authority that we ask you to hear and accept this prayer. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Rabbi Tom. And actually, if you could just back up a little bit till I'm finished, then you can slide back up and you could be the first reader. Just move a little bit to your left there. Thank you. That's perfect. That's fine. All right. So, before we go into the readings, as I was just thinking about what we just went through here and what Rabbi Tom prayed. Look, a lot of you out there don't like me, and that's fine. But I think part of the reason is because you want a teacher who's just teaching. You just want teaching. You're not looking for discipleship. You're not looking for mentoring, which is going to be more corrective, more helping you develop and grow than just giving you information. And so when I step into that role, that's when a lot of you like it and a lot of you don't like it so much. Because you'd rather somebody just give you opportunity to do whatever you want to do and then share information, which is teaching and instruction, and then move on. But that's been the lack in the body for so long, and that's why the body has really struggled to grow up. Because it hasn't wanted, I don't even know if this is the right word, but it hasn't wanted any sort of parenting going on. We are children of Israel, and at times we still need some corrective parenting, which could be instructional and encouraging as well, but that parenting to say, this is the right way to do this. This is the wrong way to do this. Not just give you information about what's right and wrong to do, but actually when you're doing it and just say, there's a better way to do this. And then that should be what we desire. It's not as much fun, because nobody likes to be corrected or told that whatever they're doing is not exactly what's desired at that moment. But it brings the peaceable fruit if you let it. It brings the good fruit of transformation if you let it. And so I just want to encourage you for that. And I have a praise that he hasn't given me the overly strong concern that if I say something, people might not be listening, and then I might lose people from our ministry because it's not our ministry. So I don't ever have that fear. I'm going to do what I think he needs me to do, and it's going to step on a few toes and ruffle some feathers some places, but it's meant to get us into a higher level of becoming him, a higher level of transformation. Does that make sense? And yeah, so I don't want people thinking, well, what happened? Did Rabbi have something wrong with his, cereal today or his coffee or his whatever he did, No, it's just that I'm dealing with, and Rabbi Tom can tell you, and Elder Billy can tell you, we have a really, really big epidemic problem in the body of emotional and psychological and maturity problems. And it's because we generationally don't really, have much out there that corrects us of anything. There's nothing really to make us stop being foolish or tell us that's not the right way to do it and that kind of thing. Because if anybody does, we just get up and leave and go find somebody that doesn't tell us that kind of stuff. Because the options are endless. You can go anywhere, And so my job is to get you prepared for where you're going. And it's not a great job when you consider that it's not the most popular of things with some people, even though you might be popular with others. But it's not about being popular, right? It's about, I want you to become him, okay? And he is the fullness of maturity, of emotional stability. He's psychologically sound, right? We don't have the spirit of fear, but the spirit of a sound mind. We're given a sound mind. His mind is a sound mind. And almost all of us, if we're going to be honest, are not always walking around in a sound mind. We're emotionally and psychologically challenged often, right? Okay? So I just want to throw that out there because I'm actually in a good mood. So I don't want anybody to read that wrong. You're like, well, you might want to activate those facial muscles like smile, and then people will know you're in a good mood. But I'm very serious, right? I mean, I watch the body like any leader should, and I can see there's a big need. And so we need a strong hand. Like the child that's out of control needs a strong hand, and you see a parent that has no interest in giving a strong hand. Okay? That's why you could do, if you're over 50, I promise you could do at 17 what our children cannot do. At 16 and at 15, because you were expected to do more. You had more responsibility. You were given more independence, and you were expected to be able to handle it. Nowadays, our children can't handle it at 22, let alone 17. And that's because we've coddled them too much. And so Israel is in the place it is because of coddling. If you read the Torah portions, right, as we go through them, the better life becomes for them, the worse they end up. Because they become complacent and spoiled. The body is about as complacent and spoiled as it's ever been. And that is why they run into these places that are very popular, because those places make them feel good. And tell them how wonderful everything's going to be and how wonderful they are. I want to tell you, everything is going to be wonderful if, that's what the book says, if you become him. If you grow up and become him. I think that's so critical. So critical. Please look in that mirror. Own that part of it. Okay? So I'm giving you a mini sermon. I don't know what got me into me, but I mean, I'm working on this class for the teenagers, for the teenagers at the feast. And so a lot of stuff is stuff I'm going to be teaching them. But if you are mature, you never blame, you don't complain, you don't criticize. There's a difference in correction and criticism, okay? And so we're not mature. As a body, we almost always make excuses, whine, complain, judge, point the finger. We don't own our lives. We need to own your life. You got to own everything. Even stuff that you know isn't your fault, own it, and then say that I now have to figure out how to avoid that next time. Instead of pointing and pointing and pointing at everybody else. So that's the reason I say all that is because I may correct from the microphone. When I do, if it's you, own it. Don't get mad at me. The feedback is not the problem. As a matter of fact, Elder Billy asks this question every time that anybody comes to him when they're not happy with feedback that they're getting. He always asks the question, regardless of how you liked it, was it right? Is it true? Okay? And if the answer is yes, then stop being upset about how it was delivered. Because if it's true, it's true. If it's correct, it's correct. So he'll say, did you do that? And the person's like, well, yeah, I did. Well, then don't get upset about how it was handled. You did do it, and the correction came. But I didn't like the way he said it, or she said it, or this one. What's that have to do with anything? Except that shows the level of immaturity. The feedback is information. How it was delivered is irrelevant. Whether you like it or not, it's not really the point. That's a personal, subjective interpretation of what happened. Take the information as information that you can then use so that you don't end up with that same feedback next time. Make the adjustment. What does that have to do with today's Torah portion? Nothing. Okay. All right, so we're going to be doing this week's Torah portion, which is Tazria, which means conceived. Okay, it's Leviticus Chapter 12, 12 and 13. Leviticus Chapter 12 and 13. We're only going to do 2 chapters today, although 13 is a fairly large chapter. I got 5 readers that I need. I got Rabbi Tom up here as the first one. I need 4 more in the chairs. All right, so we got 4 readers up here. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to call each reader up one at a time. I'm going to recite a traditional blessing over each reader, and then I'll tell you what you're going to read, how many verses, etc. And then we're going to have a little break to do some quick announcements. Quick will be my operative word as I try to do them quickly. There's just so many things that we have going on that I feel like I have to mention them all. And then we'll discuss what we read. So if you're doing this study with us today, we would encourage you to have something to make notes on in case there was anything you have a question about, and we can discuss it after the announcements, after the readings. All right, we'll begin with Rabbi Tom, and I'll come out here. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Rabbi Tom, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to read us chapter 12.
By the way, Rabbi, I don't like you. But like everyone else here, I think we all love you. Oh. Okay. Okay, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, when a woman has conceived and has given birth to a male child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, as in the days of her monthly separation she is unclean. And on the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin is circumcised, and she remains in the blood of her cleansing 33 days. She does not touch whatever is set apart, and she does not come into the set-apart place until the days of her cleansing are completed. But if she gives birth to a female child, then she shall be unclean for 2 weeks, as in her monthly separation, and she remains in the blood of her cleansing for 66 days. And when the days of her cleansing are completed for a son or for a daughter, she brings to the priest a lamb a year old as an ascending offering, and a young pigeon or turtle dove as a sin offering to the door of the tent of appointment. And he shall bring it before Yahweh and make atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the flow of her blood. This is the Torah for her who has given birth to a male or a female. And if she is not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, one as an ascending offering and the other as a sin offering. And the priest shall make atonement for her, and she shall be clean.
Thank you, Rabbi Tom. Amen. Appreciate it. All right, Taylor. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Taylor, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, Taylor, you're going to take us now to chapter 13 and read verses 1 through 15.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aharon, saying, when a man has on the skin of his body a swelling, a scab, or a bright spot, and it shall become on the skin of his body like a leprous infection, then he shall be brought to Aharon the priest, or to one of his sons, the priest. And the priest shall look at the infection and on the skin of the body, and if the hair on the infection has turned white, and the infection appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a leprous infection. And the priest shall look at him and pronounce him unclean. But if the bright spot is white on the skin of his body and does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and its hair has not turned white, then the priest shall shut up the infected one 7 days. And the priest shall look at him on the 7th day and see if the affection appears to be as it was, and the affection has not spread on the skin, then the priest shall shut him up another 7 days. And the priest shall look at him again on the 7th day and see if the infection has darkened, and the infection has not spread on the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is a scab, and he shall wash his garments and be clean. And if the scab spreads further over the skin, after he has been seen by the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen by the priest again. And the priest shall look and see if the scab has spread on the skin. Then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is leprosy. When the infection of leprosy is on a man, then he shall be brought to the priest. And the priest shall look and see if the swelling on the skin is white, and it has turned the hair white, and there is a spot of raw flesh in the swelling. It is an old leprosy on the skin of his body, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. He does not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if leprosy breaks out all over the skin, and the leprosy shall cover all the skin of the infected one, from his head to his foot, wherever the priest looks, then the priest shall look and see if the leprosy has covered all his body. He shall pronounce the affected one clean. It has all turned white, he is clean. But the day raw flesh appears on him, he is unclean. And the priest shall look at the raw flesh and pronounce him to be unclean. The raw flesh is unclean, it is leprosy.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you. All right, Oscar. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Oscar, who's come up down to Yahweh. The Torah made a set-apart one, bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us now from verse 16 to 30.
Or when the raw flesh changes and turns white again, he shall come to the priest. And the priest shall look at him and see. If the infection has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce the infected one clean. He is clean. And when the body has a boil in the skin, and it is healed, and in the place of the boil there comes a white swelling or a bright spot, reddish white, then it shall be seen by the priest. And the priest shall look and see. If it appears deeper than the skin, and its hair has turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous infection which has broken out of the boil. But if the priest looks at it and sees no white hairs in it, and it is not deeper than the skin, but is faded, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And if it has spread further over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous infection. But if the bright spot stays in its place, it has not spread, it is the scar of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or when the body receives a burn on its skin by fire, and the raw flesh of the burn shall become a bright spot, reddish white or white, Then the priest shall look at it and see. If the hair of the bright spot has turned white, and it appears deeper than the skin, it is leprosy broken out in the burn. And the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous infection. But if the priest looks at it and sees there are no white hairs in the bright spot, and it is not deeper than the skin, but is faded, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And the priest shall look at him on the 7th day. If it spreads further over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous infection. But if the bright spot stays in its place and has not spread on the skin, but is faded, it is a swelling from the burn. And the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is a scar from the burn. And when a man or a woman has an infection on the head or in the beard, then the priest shall look at the infection and see. If it appears deeper than the skin, and there is thin yellow hair in it, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an eruption, a leprosy of the head or beard.
Amen. Okay, thank you, Oscar. All right, Anthony. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Anthony, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you can take us from 31 to 44.
But when the priest looks at the infection of the eruption and sees that it does not appear deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up the one with the infection of the eruption 7 days. And on the 7th day the priest shall look at the infection and see. If the eruption has not spread, and there is no yellow hair in it, and the eruption does not appear deeper than the skin, then he shall shave himself, but the eruption he does not shave. And the priest shall shut up the one with the eruption another 7 days. And on the 7th day the priest shall look at the eruption and see. If the eruption has not spread over the skin and does not appear deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. And he shall wash his garments, and he shall be clean. But if the eruption spreads further over the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look at him and see. If the eruption has spread over the skin, the priest need not seek for yellow hair. He is unclean. But if the eruption appears to have stayed, and there is black hair grown up in it, the eruption has healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. And when the man or woman has bright spots on the skin of the body, white bright spots, then the priest shall look and see. If the bright spots on the skin of the body are dull white, it is a white spot that grows on the skin. He is clean. And when a man loses the hair of his head, he is bald. He is clean. And if the hair has fallen from his forehead, he is bald on the forehead, and he is clean. And when there is on the bald head or bald forehead of a reddish white infection, it is a leprosy breaking out on his bald head or his bald forehead. And the priest shall look at it and see if the swelling of the infection is reddish white on his bald head or on his bald forehead, as the appearance of leprosy on the skin of the body. Where was I going to? Thank you, sir. He is a leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him unclean without fail. His infection is on his head.
Amen. All right, thank you, Anthony. Okay, last, we've got Ashley. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Ashley, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us from verse 45 to the end of the chapter.
Thank you. Oh, there it is. As for the leper who has the infection, his garments are torn, and his head is uncovered, and he has to cover his upper lip and cry, "Unclean, unclean." He is unclean. All the days he has the infection, he is unclean. He is unclean, and he dwells alone. His dwelling place is outside the camp. And when a garment has an infection of leprosy in it, in a woolen garment or in a linen garment, or the warp in the weft of linen or wool, or in leather, or in any leather work, and the infection shall be greenish or reddish in the garment, or in the leather, or in the warp, or in the weft, or in any leather object, it is an infection of leprosy, and shall be shown to the priest. And the priest shall look at the infection, and shut up the infected one 7 days. And he shall look at the infection on the 7th day, and when the infection has spread in the garment, or when the warp, or in the weft, or in the leather, or in any leather work, the infection is an active leprosy. It is unclean. And he shall burn that garment, or the warp, or the weft, in wool and in linen, or in any leather object in which the infection is, for it is an active leprosy. It is burned with fire. But if the priest looks and sees that the infection has not spread in the garment, or in the warp, or in the left, or in any leather object, then the priest shall give command, and they shall wash that in which the infection is, and he shall shut it up another 7 days. And the priest shall look at the infection after it has been washed, and see if the infection has not changed its appearance. Though the infection has not spread, it is unclean, and burn it in the fire. It is eaten away, in its inside or outside. And if the priest shall look and see that the infection has faded after washing it, then he shall tear it out of the garment, or out of the warp, or out of the weft, or out of the leather. And if it is still seen in the garment, or in the warp, or in the weft, or in any other leather object, it is spreading infection. Burn it with fire, that in which the infection is. And if you wash the garment, or the warp, or the left, or any leather object, if the infection has disappeared from it, then it shall be washed a second time, and shall be clean. This is the Torah of the infection of leprosy, and a garment of wool or linen, or in the warp, or in the weft of any leather object, to pronounce it clean, or to pronounce it unclean.
All right, thank you, Ashley. All right, excellent job to all the readers. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth, has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Amen. Okay, that's the traditional blessing after the readings. All right, so let's go ahead and get some quick announcements in here. First of all, we want to welcome all of our guests. Okay. And so we are, after all, children of Abraham, and we do want to exemplify that trait of hospitality that he was so well known for. If you're online and you just found us, we started at 6:30, about 45 minutes ago. And we do this every Tuesday night. So we're going to go ahead and give you some idea of all the things that we do that are available to you. So every Tuesday night, we live stream our Torah portion study, which is the one-year cycle going from Genesis to Deuteronomy. It's about 3 to 5 or 6 chapters a week, depending on the week. Today, we just really covered 2. One was fairly long with 59 verses. And so we have that, and it goes usually between 6:30 and about 9:30, depends on how much there is to cover. And so you're welcome to join us live here on YouTube. Then we also offer a program for the children that goes along with that. We'll just skip to the Torah portion. Well, there we go. Called Parsha Pearls, since we are talking about the Torah portions. This is a program for the children. It's free. Everything I'm about to tell you, like all these announcements, there's nothing here to sell you, okay? So in case you're wondering, when is he going to get to the sales pitch? There is no sales pitch, okay? We're not selling you anything. All right. So the Parsha Pearls program, we put this together. We have a tremendous staff with my wife, Rebbetzin Julie, and her team that puts together this fantastic program for the children to engage with the Word at their level in a way that's enjoyable so that they can look forward to it. And so we have a separate website for this. On this website, ymtoi.org, ymtoi.org, you can find the Parsha Pearls program. All right, so we have it broken down into 2 different groups. We've got a younger group called the Gem Seekers. This is 5 through 8-year-olds. And then we have the Pearl Seekers, 9 through about 19. These 2 groups have their own separate, on the site, PDF with materials each week for that week's Torah portion. All right? Now, there are some weeks, like this week, where it's traditionally most years a double portion, so it was posted as a double portion, okay? So Tazria MTOI was posted on Sunday as a double, so you'll have it for 2 weeks. All right, now, the program that you get there in that PDF is incredibly just abundantly filled with things for your children to enjoy. We have a lesson in there from the Torah portion, some lesson questions, Hebrew word studies, memory verses, word searches, crossword puzzles, mazes, crafts, notebook pages, coloring pages, even a song and a snack, all related to that week's Torah portion. Okay? Fantastic program. It's free. Please take advantage of it. It posts every Sunday, so you have it for the whole week in advance. So what we do on Tuesday, we already post the previous Sunday, okay, of the Torah portion cycle. All right. Then we have our Saturday services. Okay, so we do stream also on Shabbat every Saturday, and that's at 1:15 Eastern Time. We start at 1, but the service doesn't start till quarter after with the live sounding of the shofar. But the first 15 minutes, it's a chance for you to interact with each other a little bit in the chat, and also we have slides like this with announcements on it, and some clips for some teachings and that kind of thing. All right, so that's every Saturday. That runs about 4 hours and a little bit more, so we are done usually about 5:30. That's also especially a heads up if you come to visit us to know that you're going to be here till about 5:30. So, we do have a meal afterwards that we all bring food for, and we sit down, picnic style. So you bring food for yourself, maybe a few others, and we do that every week. But you might want to eat before you get here because it's a long day. Doesn't maybe seem that way. I know some people have said it seemed longer when they were on the live stream, and then they showed up here, and it seemed to go a little quicker. Time moves differently in this building. You didn't know that? All right, so let's talk about some more things that we have for you. We have our audio scripture readings. That kind of goes along with the Torah portion. I should have put that out there at the same time we talked about that. Our own Shira Wendling did a great job with the Torah portion readings. All right, so if you like to hear the word read, we have it on site free on MTOI.org, on our main website, MTOI.org, under media, under audio scripture reading. And the first 5 books are actually broken up by Torah portion. But it's all there from Genesis to Revelation, and you can enjoy it, you can download it, it's all free. All right, let's see. We have some things we'd also like you to know that we publish on a regular basis. So on Mondays on YouTube, we publish what's called The First Look. This is some powerful sound bites from each week's full teaching. So it's kind of like a preview with the full teaching coming out, 2 days later. So it's a way for you to get a little kind of excitement going for what you're going to get to hear when the full teaching posts on Wednesday. So on Mondays, we do The First Look. Then on Wednesday, you get the full teaching, okay? In this case, we're doing the series called Evil, all right? And so some of you, if you're for the first time going, wow, that's a pretty scary-looking thumbnail for that teaching. Look, it's a powerful teaching. I think it's an important teaching, and we're up to part 11, I guess, or something like that. So fantastic, I think, way of resetting the way we've thought of evil to get it in a much more full and complete understanding. All right, so that's the current series. And this past part, the last couple of parts, we've really been going through the book of Romans. If you ever wanted someone to finally unravel Romans for you, I did a best shot I could at it, at least for a good number of the chapters. We went through chapters 1, 2, 3, I think, and then 6 and 7 into a little bit of 8. So, all right, we skipped over, I think, 4 and 5. But we got it because we're trying to keep it focused on the evil teaching anyway. And some of you think Paul's writings are evil anyway, once you come to realize that they seem to be the reason why Christianity has done away with the law and everything else. And I think once you hear me explain what Paul's really talking about, you'll see there's no such thing. And it couldn't be further from what he was actually trying to say, all right? That he really is absolutely 100% fully in line with the Torah and our Messiah in the right way. All right. Then on Thursdays we post what's called the Afterburn, which is the Q&A session that happens after each week's teaching. So when we do this live, we do the teaching, and then right afterwards we encourage people to ask questions and make comments and share thoughts about what they just heard. And so those post on Thursday. And then on Fridays, we do the In Focuses. So an In Focus is a short video that focuses on topics that affect our relationship with our Elohim and with each other. So these were already inside of other teachings, but we pulled them out because they can stand alone by themselves as a mini teaching. All right, so enjoy those. So they're shorter. They could be as short as 4, 5, 6 minutes to as long as 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, but they're mini teachings, okay, in themselves. All right. Then we have on Thursdays. Okay, we kind of skipped over that and those are all YouTube things I just told you. Now we're going to do some things that aren't always on YouTube. Thursdays is our Torah Time for Teens with Rabbi Tom Mitchell. All right, so this is hosted on Zoom. And so to get the link for the Zoom meeting, just send an email to us at TorahTime@MTOI.org. TorahTime@MTOI.org. It's for the teenagers, this class. We get about 25 to 30 or so teenagers from around the world that come into the classroom and meet for about an hour every Thursday and engage with the Word and engage with Rabbi Tom. And we really want it to be very comfortable for them to feel free to be themselves and be free to ask the questions and make comments that they might want to. So we ask that if you as an adult, or if they got siblings that are younger, let's please keep them off camera and out of the room while the children are in this class. Now, I'm not trying to hide anything from them. If you want to know what they're doing, be in the room and pay attention, but don't go on camera. I don't want the teenagers to feel that whatever it is they feel when they see an adult walk in the room, okay? And then they no longer feel free to just be themselves. Okay, with Rabbi Tom, they can, because he's encouraged them to do that. He's the teacher, and he wants them to do that. But as soon as they see somebody else there, the first thought in their brain is, well, if I say that, I wonder what someone's going to think about what I said, and maybe they're going to think it was a dumb question, or maybe this, or maybe that. We don't want them doing that. We want them to just be comfortable. All right? So if you're going to be, while your children are in the class, anywhere nearby, just don't be on camera, all right? All right, next. What do we got next here? The zone meetings, right? No, our Erev Shabbats. Okay, I'm sorry. The Erev Shabbat Siddur services. All right, so Friday nights we have a liturgy service, all right? And so you're all welcome to come here on Friday nights. This is not every Friday night. The exception is the Friday nights when we're doing an Erev Shabbat get-together, which is usually the first Friday of the month. There are some exceptions. Okay, so on the other Fridays of the month, we're going to be doing this Erev Shabbat liturgy get-together, which is at 8 o'clock, which means that you'll do whatever you do to bring in Shabbat at home. You'll eat, and then you can come here afterwards. You're encouraged and welcome to bring dessert, and we all hang out after the liturgy service and enjoy some coffee and dessert together. Okay, so that's Friday nights at 8. That's right here in the building. We do not stream this. I apologize to you on stream. We don't have a streaming, we don't have this ready for streaming yet. Okay, next, we have our zone meetings. All right, I'm going to go through this hopefully much more quickly than usual. We have 3 different zones that we have arbitrarily, for the way it seems that it would work out, broken the world up into by clusters of time zones. Okay? So zone 1 is like the U.S., Canada, Mexico, South and Central America, the islands that are kind of connected with all that. So those time zones are what we call in zone 1. Okay? You can go to zone 2 for a second. So zone 2 would be like the U.K., Africa, Europe. Those are places that are like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours ahead of us. And then zone 3 are places that are like Australia, New Zealand, Japan, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, China. And these are all places that are 12 to 17 hours ahead of us. And what we realized was, as much as we're trying to do things for people internationally, it's not Shabbat when we're doing Shabbat. Where they are, it's already Sunday for a lot of these people in Zone 2 and Zone 3. And so we wanted to do something for them on Shabbat at least once a month, so we have these zone meetings. So the Zone 1 meeting, we'll go back to that slide real quick. So Zone 1 meeting is held live on YouTube during that first Saturday of the month's services. So it's the first Saturday of the month. Made this easy for you. Zone 1, first Saturday. Zone 2, second Saturday. Zone 3, third Friday. Made it easy for you until we get to this month when I'm going to mess it up. But anyway, made it easy for you. All right, so Zone 1 is right on live on YouTube during the service. That's when I would normally do the teaching, and it's an international Shabbat Q&A. Everybody is welcome to all the meetings. The people who are in that zone are the ones that get to ask the questions. Okay? So when I mention all 3 meetings, you can go to all of them. I encourage you to. Just realize it's the people that live in that particular zone are going to be asking the questions that week. All right, so the next Zone 1 meeting is April 2nd. Okay, so that's coming right up here. And so that will be for all the people in the Zone 1 areas to ask their questions, both the live streamers as well as those here locally. And then we have Zone 2. Okay, Zone 2 is on the following Saturday. Okay, the following Saturday, so that's the second Saturday of the month, and that will be on Zoom. Okay, Zone 2 and Zone 3 are both hosted on Zoom, and you can send us an email at zoom@mtoi.org, zoom@mtoi.org. Both the Torah Time email and the Zoom emails are autoresponders. Just send the email, you'll automatically get the link emailed back to you, okay? All right, now Zone 3 this month is actually going to be on the second Friday because the third Friday of the month is the Passover, okay? And so we're going to be so we'll do Zone 3's Friday night before Zone 2's Saturday, so we're kind of going to be a week early and a little out of order. So Friday the 8th, we'll be doing Zone 3, and then Saturday the 9th, we'll be doing Zone 2. All right, now, I think that covers it for that. If you have questions and you want to contact us with your questions, we have an email for that now called questions@mtoi.org. I'd even prefer that you go to the mtoi.org website on the Contact Us page, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's a form you can fill out, and your questions will get submitted to here, and we will try to get to them as fast as we can. Just if it's time sensitive, in other words, you need an answer quickly because whatever you're going through is like something's happening urgently right now, please write urgent in the subheading of the subject line of the email, or better yet, call us. If it's urgent, call us if you can, 423-250-3020. The phone number's on the website, okay? Now, so let's go on to our regularly scheduled events that are coming up. So this Friday, April 1st, is our Erev Shabbat dinner get-together, okay? This Friday, April 1st. All right, so dinner is going to be at 6:30. We're going to get together in fellowship, and we're going to enjoy each other's company. And so we're not going to be doing the liturgy thing this Friday, okay? But we are going to have our fellowship and our Erev Shabbat service. So bring food like you would on Saturday, for like picnic style, etc., and we'll have that. So we're going to try to start the service at 6:30 if we can. Now, starting the next Erev Shabbat, we're going to push that back to 7. So if you're here a little bit later, because we know that some people work a little bit later, we might not get started exactly at 6:30. We want to make sure that you can do it. But I think starting the next month, we're pushing it back to 7, okay, just to give us a little bit more time for people that are making extra advantage of the daylight hours that are there, and they can get some stuff done. And so we'll try to push that so that we can do it at 7. All right. Then on April 2nd, okay, that's that the zone meeting that we're having, but that's going to be our Rosh Chodesh service. So April 2nd is not only Zone 1, but we're having our Rosh Chodesh for the month of Aviv, all right? Yeah, Rosh Chodesh for the month. That is the beginning of our months in counting holy days, right? All right, so Rosh Chodesh for Aviv will be done during the service, right at the beginning of the Zone 1 time during the teaching time, okay? So for those of you that normally just have whatever services you have wherever you are, but you like to kind of join us for Rosh Chodesh, we're not posting a separate posting for this. It'll be during our service, during the teaching time, which means it'll be around 3 o'clock or something like that, 3:30, somewhere in that range, okay? All right. Let's see. Then we have our leadership meetings coming up, okay, April the 10th. So please pray for the leaders to get together that are all associated with MTOI. So that's about 27 congregations around the world. So please pray for us. The meetings are on April 10th. We meet once a month. Then we have Passover. Yeah. I think you're discipling with Billy more than with me. I heard that. Woo! Yeah. All right, Passover 2022, Pesach 2022. So April the 15th to the 24th, we now have over 400 people coming. And so, yeah, good. Over 400 people coming, okay. So what do I want to give you about this real quickly? So we still have a few last-minute people registering. We really are pretty well sold out, but if something comes up and we don't like to turn people away, please contact us and we'll see what we could do. But we really need to start making sure to finalize our meals and everything else that we need to buy stuff for. So hopefully that makes sense. If you call, I promise you, like I said at the beginning of this Torah study about the correction and everything else, I will scold you pretty good if you should have known, could have known, and just were too lazy or too busy or distracted to register. I will let you know very clearly that wasn't acceptable, and I'll still let you come. but you'll know how much that was not what you needed to do. Okay? Because I've only been announcing this for 5 months. So I don't know how you cannot, get it done. Okay. So Friday night, the 15th, is the Passover meal. The 16th, Saturday, is the first holy day. The Friday, the 22nd, is the last holy day. That goes right into Shabbat, so we're going to stay all the way through the weekend to the 24th. All right, there's an activity schedule on our website, mtoi.org/Passover, and it gives you all of the information about what's scheduled. We do have feast songs posted for the children's program. YMTOI feast songs, go to the YMTOI page. Okay, do we have a slide with that? There we go. Okay, so the YMTOI Passover program songs are now on the YMTOI site. Okay, so you go there, you're going to go under feasts, under feast songs, and you're looking for the ones that are listed under the title, the heading, the Proverbs. Each one has an instrumental track, a vocal track, and it has lyrics so that the children can learn the songs. Please have your children learn the songs now before they get to the event. It'll make things so much better and so much easier for Ms. Shira to run the program with as she works with them. All right? All right. Bring games, etc. for family fun nights. Start prepping to get your leaven out. And we are contacting everyone. If you haven't heard from us yet, maybe we left you a message. Please contact us back so that you can sign up to volunteer for various duties that we have so that everybody can participate in something. Okay? Because Marlene has been doing a great job of calling everybody and working on that program. Okay, I think that covers it for the announcements. All right. Yay. Everyone's like, yay, they're finally over. Okay, good. Let's go to our Midrash time. So we're going to discuss this week's Torah portion. Now, this week's Torah portion, normally what I want you to do is try to figure out what can you get out of the Torah portion that you can apply in your life right now. There's not a whole lot necessarily here. If you get something going on your skin, you're going to the doctor, not to the priest. And whatever's going on in your skin doesn't affect your status as clean or unclean because there's no temple to be. That status is all about the temple, being tameh or tahor, right? Unclean or clean. So what are we learning out of this? What are we learning out of this? So what we're learning out of this, especially in chapter 13, okay, I know you want to talk about 12 and the lady giving birth and whether it's a boy or a girl and everything. We'll cover that in a minute. But in chapter 13, what we're learning is this. What we see here is the response to the potential condition, whatever this condition is, and it's not leprosy. I know it's translated that way often. The Hebrew word is tzara'at. Okay, and tzara'at, if you know what leprosy is and you read the description here of the tzara'at, they don't match, okay? But that's what they're calling it because they didn't know what else to call it, I guess the translators as they went to that. But it's a skin condition, and according to tradition, the rabbis and everybody else, including myself, my interpretation is that it was sin-related. Okay, this was not a health-related problem, but a sin-related problem. And we see eventually in chapter 13, it ends up even on clothing. And then in chapter 14, we'll see it end up on buildings. Okay, next week. All right, so that doesn't usually happen with leprosy. Okay? All right. So what we see here is that the way we're supposed to respond is what we can learn something from. Number one, we are to have an expert, in this case the priest, not just anyone who thinks they are an expert, but an actual expert, examine your situation. So you can apply that to almost anything going sideways, wrong, or looking very problematic in your life. You might want to go to someone who's an expert in that area and get you or your situation or whatever it is evaluated. What we tend to do is go to those who we're comfortable with, not those who are actually the experts, because sometimes we're intimidated by experts, or we're afraid we're not going to like what they say, or some other thing, and we don't want to go to the person who's actually qualified. So in this case, they were to go to the priest. That was the expert in this area. Okay. Now, if it was not clearly diagnosable, when you went to the priest did not have a clear identity of what to do with this, then he gave the instruction to patiently wait 7 days. So you may need to add that also into the mix when your life is going off the rails a little bit or something looks really problematic, the person you go to may tell you to calm it down a little bit and maybe let's wait a week and see what's going on. Maybe let's take some time and wait a little bit to see what's going on. Okay? So you can see the wisdom in that. And then the priest, the expert, follow me here. You went with something, and you even did it right, and you went to the priest. Then they said, well, let's wait a week. And while you're waiting, it looks better to you. It seems like it's okay to you. So rather than go back to the priest or the expert, you make your own decision, or you go to a friend or a neighbor or whatever, and now you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're still supposed to go back to the expert, the authorized person, and have them reevaluate you. You don't reevaluate yourself. You don't self-diagnose in this kind of stuff. You go to the expert, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So that's the protocol that we see here. Now, in chapter 12, I am preemptively handling a bunch of stuff because I know where a lot of the questions are going to be anyway. Having done this, once or twice in the last 20-something years. Okay. Chapter 12, verses 1 through 4, we have the birth of a male child. All right, birth of a male child. And then in verses 5 through 7, we have the birth of a female child. Now, I know everybody wants to try to figure out the math and why is it different for the boy and the girl is twice as long as the boy and everything else. Nobody actually knows. Oh, a lot of people have theories. That's not the important part of this. The important part of this is the instruction was to be followed. If it was a boy, you followed the boy protocol. If it was a girl, you followed the girl protocol. Period. Okay? Now, well, I don't understand. Why is it that, it doesn't matter. You don't have to, nowhere does Yahweh promise you have to understand everything. The covenant at Mount Sinai never said that your understanding it was a part of the covenant. There was no requirement that you understood all the things he told you to do except enough to know that you needed to do it and how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, who to go to. The why, sometimes he tells us, sometimes he doesn't. There's a lot of things that fall under the title of chukim, okay? These are those laws that we scratch our head and go, I don't get it, but okay, he said it, I'm going to do it. And so he has things like that we don't necessarily understand. But what we need to understand is what he said. So what did he say? He said basically that the woman was unclean or tameh when she had the male, this is when she had a boy, for 7 days, as in the days of her monthly separation. So because the birth is going to have fluids and blood and things coming out of the woman, it was treated the same way as the monthly cycle was treated. So she was going to be tameh. That doesn't mean she sinned or did anything wrong. It's a state that allows or doesn't allow you to interact with the temple and temple things. So when you're tameh, you can't. When you're tahor, you can. We translate it simply in English as clean and unclean. But clean and unclean is just a really poor way of explaining it because we think of things as either dirty or clean. So somehow if you wash it, now it's clean. Well, there are some washing rituals that are a part of some of this, but there's other things involved as well. And so it's a status, not an actual physical thing necessarily. Because as a woman, some women could have their cycles go much shorter than that, but they're considered unclean in this state for that period of time. Okay? Now, so 7 days, then the male child is circumcised on the 8th day. And then she remains in this tameh state in the blood of her cleansing for another 33 days. Okay? So we have a 40-day period here. 40 or 41 if you want to add the 33 days after the 8. Okay? So it's just to give us a perspective. And we're going to see that when it's a female child, that it's going to be double that. So now we have verses 5 through 7. It says, the woman is unclean for 2 weeks, as in the days of her monthly separation. And she's to remain in the blood of her cleansing for 66 days. So that's 80 days. Now, why, I can answer one question. Why only 1 week in the beginning and 2 weeks for the ladies? Because she needed to be declared tahor, at least on that one level, so that she can go and be with the baby and have the baby circumcised. Okay? When it's a male child. So the idea of being the same as the weekly separation was a higher state of tameh than this continuing in the blood cleansing that goes on for the 33 days or the 66 days. Because she had to be in a certain status to be able to do the circumcision, to be there with the baby. Okay? Can't explain it to you why and understand it, but this is how we figure the numbers. Okay. We see, I told you already from chapter 13 and verse 3, we have the word sara'at, often translated leprosy, but it is not the same as the disease called leprosy today. I tell you that you'll see that there seems to be a connection to sin. In other words, we're to figure out what was causing it. What's causing it is a behavior that needs to be modified. It's not necessarily a health-related issue, okay? Chapter 13, the first 46 verses talk about all of these skin-related issues, and then 47 to 59 starts talking about it being on the garment, okay? On your clothing. And so we're going to see, and I'll mention this again next week, that eventually this ends up on the walls of the building, on furniture, on everything. There's also a phrase that talks about if it's deep in the skin. So this problem is deeper than skin deep, than the surface. It's something that's deeper that's causing the problem. Even when they talk about it on the walls, you could just scrape off if it's just on the surface, but when it's deeper into the walls, deeper into the cloth, it talks about the weaving issues like, right, the weft and all those things. This is the way you weave cloth together. And so we're now looking at something that goes a little bit deeper. And so the metaphor for us today is that if you are doing that which is sin, that which you should not be doing, and remember this is for covenantal people, not everybody, because otherwise everybody would be running around with sarat. Okay? All right? That your sin, use this as a parable. Right? Use the tzarat as a parable. I'm not saying it is. I'm just use it as a parable. That your sin will start to be written all over you, so to speak, initially. People will see it on you. You'll wear it like you wear your skin. It'll affect the way you behave, the way you treat people. It will be visible by looking at you. Does it make sense so far? Okay. Then it goes, if it's not addressed, it starts to spread. And now it's even on your clothing. So those things that you bring with you and that you do and that are part of you but not actually you start to exhibit signs that people might get to see that you're doing certain things that you should not be doing. And sin unaddressed, eventually you can see the house is full of sin. People can see it in your house. Is that a great metaphor? Isn't that a powerful message that's in there? Now, we didn't get to the house part. That's chapter 14, and that's next week, right? But it just flows in through this. And normally, both are covered in the same, in the same Torah portion most years. But because this was a year with Adar 2, the 13th month, they split up some of the Torah portions to cover that extra space. And so I think that's really powerful. I think we really need to prayerfully consider that when we do things, now bear in mind, it's not like you sinned and then all of a sudden this would happen. This is coming from a habitual problem. You sin over enough time, it starts to affect you. Let's use something that I think we can all kind of relate to, because either we've experienced it ourselves or we've witnessed it or we've heard enough stories. Let's say you're married and your eye has been wandering. And let's say that wandering eye even has manifested into some action. You probably could fool your spouse for a little while. But the longer it goes on, the more you're going to behave differently. And the person's going to start to wonder what is going on. Because you can't hide sin over a period of time. maybe for a moment, maybe real short term, from people. You can never hide it from him. But over time, you're going to start doing things that will become visible to others. They'll notice you spending inappropriate time maybe with someone. They'll notice that you're treating them differently. Okay, if you're not interested in your spouse because you're interested in somebody else and you're actually starting to spend all this time you shouldn't with that other person, you're going to treat your spouse different. And they're going to notice that you're treating them different. I don't mean different in a good way either, right? And so then it becomes more visible. Maybe it's even now visible in things like your clothing and choices of things you're buying or not buying and things that you're doing. Things that are not you, but they're connected with you. It's going to be more evident. We see this with people going through midlife crisis. All of a sudden, they're buying a different car and they're wearing different clothes and and it's like, what's going on with you? Something's going on when you see somebody acting that different. And you start thinking, I wonder what's going on there. And have you ever been to somebody's house and as soon as you walk in, you know that house is in chaos? And that house has got something, you feel it even going in the house, even if you don't see it necessarily. Or you look around and you can see it all there. It's just a mess. I'm not even just talking about a physical mess. I mean, you can see that there's something not right in that house. And so just remember the verses that say things like, all that is hidden will be revealed. You can't hide anything. Not for long anyway. From him, never. From each other, maybe very short window of time. Oh, you think you're clever. You think you can do it. Challenge accepted. Are you gonna? No, it's never going to work. You know, I remember watching, I won't mention the comedian, but I remember watching a comedian who was doing a routine and he was talking about guys cheating and he kept saying, you're going to get caught. He says, I don't care what you think. I don't think you're going to get caught. Same for the ladies. Because you're going to do something that will create the curiosity that something is off. And it doesn't just have to be that type of sin. It could be anything. If you start missing Shabbats, you will start acting differently and people will notice. You start eating what you shouldn't. Anything that's a sin. You will start to notice a difference in yourself too. I'm not recommending it, but go ahead and miss a few Shabbats and see what happens. When I say miss, I don't mean like watch live stream. I mean like miss. Like just don't do it. It'll change you. It'll change the way you think, act, behave, everything. You start missing things. And so I think that's the big lesson to get out of this Torah portion. All right? There were certain protocols for certain things, and all of this is in the book of Leviticus, and they're building the tabernacle, and they're dedicating the priesthood, and so the priests need to understand their job, and a large part of their job is judgment in applying the Torah. Not instruction in teaching Torah. That really fell to the 70 from Moses, the Melchizedekian side of it. But to be able to tell people this is, when you see this, you got to bring it to me to judge. When you have this happening, you have to bring it to me. The priests had a role to discern and judge in applying Torah. And so that's where also today you could come to someone like me, you come and say, I have a situation and I don't know how to handle it correctly. And you're looking for judgment from someone who should be authorized and an expert. Of course, we have a lot of people that rather just go to YouTube and get people that may or may not be experts, rather than vet someone out to find out if they actually have an expertise and an authority and an anointing for that particular thing. You know, I think we do more with things like, I don't know, Angie's List and these other lists that are out there to vet someone to come and do plumbing or electrical work at our house than we do to figure out someone who's going to help us with our spiritual life. We'll just grab anybody's video and say, oh, I like what that sounded like, so that's my teacher now. Well, that doesn't make any sense. But you want to see, reviews from people that have worked with that plumber or contractor or whatever before hiring them. Of course, you can go out and find reviews of me, and you'll find all kinds of horrible ones. That's fine, too. Then you got to figure out, is it like, look, when you go online, there are reviews that other people are putting in there that are phony, right? Positive and negative. People who it's them, and they want the positive ones, may get their friends and everybody put all these great things in there. And other people at a competition may put in all kinds of phony negative ones. Oh, you don't think that's going on? Of course you know that's going on. Which is why you have to be really careful reading reviews. Oh, this thing is great. Oh, this thing is awful. I especially like to read reviews of things I already know how good or bad they are, just to see how the reviews go. Things that I actually bought and I own and I know how good or bad they are. And it's hysterical sometimes to read the stuff that people write. All right. Let's go ahead and now open up the floor for questions. I think I covered almost anything you could ask about, but I'll go ahead and let you ask a question or two if you want. Otherwise, we can maybe even shift the conversation towards Passover-related questions since we are getting closer to Passover. And so, any comments or questions for this week's Torah portion first? No. Okay. You do have one? Okay.
I have one about what you said, Rabbi. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just thinking about how you're saying that the leprosy or the tzaraat, it was connected to sin, and how that was so obvious that it was almost like I would say that if you had to go to the priest for the priest to see and examine your skin, that it was public.
Well, look, just remember, it wasn't always sin because it wasn't always tzaraat. It could have been just another skin thing, and they decided, no, it's fine, you're okay. All right? So they had to first go to the priest for the priest to decide whether it was tzaraat or not. Then, when it was clear that it was tzaraat, then the person should have been thinking, well, I need to figure out what I'm doing that's causing this. Okay? Because some of the people went and got themselves checked out only to find out they were fine. I mean, there's verses that explain that. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that. The other thing that I got from what you said about seeking expert advice, that also requires us not to think that we know it all, but really trusting, right? That when we come to you, that you're going to be speaking, that Yahweh is going to be speaking through you. And so that takes a lot of humility too, to come and expose something that is obviously not working very well, trusting that you're going to give us the voice of wisdom that we need.
All right, listen. It takes a lot. Okay, let me start from this beginning. Before you ask anybody anything, ask yourself the question, why am I asking this person? Am I asking them because I feel like they have the expertise? Or am I asking them because I'm comfortable and it feels safe to ask them? Am I asking them, what is your reason for choosing the person you're talking to? That's important because it may help you identify a fear that is keeping you from going to the right person. Or it may encourage you that you are going to the right person, and if you are, then you should listen to them. Because you may say, well, I'm going to this person because they really are, I believe, expert in this area and should be able to give me good help, and I should be ready to listen. Or you're going to somebody because I don't really want to go to the person I'm supposed to go to, but I need to talk to somebody, so I'm going to go to this person because I know they're not going to make me feel uncomfortable. They're not going to tell me it's my fault. They're not going to tell me, you understand what I'm saying? And that's really where the problem comes in. The people that really, I don't know how I want to put it, the people that need me the most for themselves, not the people that need me the most because other things are happening to them. A lot of them do call. But the people that need me the most because they are the problem and they don't know what to do to fix it and to get themselves right, they never call. Because they don't want correction. They don't want to look in the mirror. They don't want anybody telling them, you are the problem. Okay? And so that ownership is derailed by fear. Well, I'm not going to go talk to them. Oh, I'm going to be too embarrassed to admit. You should be embarrassed not to admit, not to deal with your stuff. There's nothing, I would believe in the heavenlies, in the above, the greatest shame is you refusing to deal with your stuff because you're, quote unquote, I'm too embarrassed. That's embarrassing. What brings glory and honor certainly honor, not glory in this particular case, but honor is the respect that you would get for owning your problem and seeking help. That brings honor and respect. It's an honorable act to say, I'm all messed up, and I'm hurting people, and my spouse hates me right now because I deserve it too, and I don't know how to fix it. That takes a lot. It takes an awful lot. Because I have husbands and wives all over the world who contact me. It doesn't matter which one it is. It could be either one. Usually it's the wife, though, with the husband that will not call and will not talk and will not get involved because they don't want to risk somebody telling them that some of it is them. It's never all of it that's anybody's, but some of it's them. And as a matter of fact, if you come to me, husband and wife, or even just husband or wife, and you start telling me only everything about them, I'm going to stop you at some point and go, okay, but what did you do? You did something. That doesn't mean it's your fault. It doesn't mean you caused it, but it wasn't all one side. Unless it's out of control abuse, it's just disagreement and not coming to the same page and not being able to walk in agreement, that takes two. Some things are happening on both sides. Maybe more on one than the other, but some things happening on both sides. And if you're not ready to hear that, then you're not ready for what Abba has in mind here. So when you go to the experts, whoever the authority figure is that you think can actually help you, go ready to receive. We'll go back to Deuteronomy 17. You got to go ready to receive and hear and follow instruction. You know, it's interesting. There's a book that I'm looking through that's a lot of stuff for working with teenagers and helping them to achieve. And one of the things it talks about is mentoring. It says, go get a mentor. And one of the things it says, and when you get the mentor, he says, do what they say. Nobody likes to have their time wasted. He says, now, it may not work for you, but at least do it, try it, see if it fits. If it doesn't, move on. But don't go to the experts, get the information, and don't try at least what they say if you think that they're experts. And some of you still do that with the leadership here. You'll come to us completely ready not to do anything we tell you. And by tell you, we're going to put it in your hands, tell you, and then if you do or don't do it, that's yours. I mean, we're not going to follow up on you and check on you unless you come back again, and then we'll say, by the way, did you do what I told you last time? And the answer almost all the time, right, Elder Billy, is no. And then we look at you and say, well, go back and do what I told you last time. And then when you've tried that, then come back and see me again. Okay, he's nodding like this, all right? So I'm just telling you, and I bring him involved because it's not just me. When he talks to people, he gets the exact same challenges that I do. And by the way, some of you, now that you're going to him, are realizing you're getting just as strong a hand that you get with me. Because you think, oh, I'll avoid Rabbi. Billy will be much nicer. It's not about being nice. You don't want nice. Nice is not good. You want gentle. Maybe you want kindness. You want respect. Nice is going to coddle, enable, and mess you up. Okay? There's no nice in the fruit of the Spirit. There's gentleness, kindness, right? Patience, love. Nice allows for everything to go sideways. Some of you get real mad at me because they're like, well, just be nice. No. I can try to be gentle and say with strength what needs to be said with enough gentleness, hopefully, understanding who you are and where you're coming from. I can be kind. I can be respectful. You don't want nice. Nice is why we're in all the problems we have, because everybody's being nice to everybody and letting them do whatever they wanted. Okay? You know the saying, nice guys finish? Yeah, there's a reason for that. It doesn't mean bad guys and mean guys finish first. It just means that you have to be getting what has to get done, whether or not everybody's going to like it. You know? I read somewhere that if I ever wanted to please everybody, instead of being a rabbi, I should sell ice cream. Then everybody would be happy with me. Unless I don't have the flavor they like. There you go. See, that would still happen, wouldn't it? Oh, boy. All right, John.
Thank you, Rabbi. what you had been saying about missing the Shabbat and all that. Well, I left the SDA church 2.5 years ago and haven't observed the Shabbat for a year. And at work, I became ugly, disrespectful, and just getting out of complete control, almost lost my job. I looked back, then I started another church service down the road here, and a friend brought me here, and I've been here for a year last week.
And what has changed then in the way things have been going at work?
Well, everything has been moving forward.
Okay, so you're not acting the same way anymore.
No.
Because there's a grounding in being obedient and consistently being where you're supposed to be.
And during the year that I was out of service, I almost took my own life.
Because you didn't have the grounding, you know? This is not just grounding like you may just first guess I mean, but it's also grounding in terms of it anchors you to why you're here and where you're supposed to be going and the hope of the future that we have of the kingdom and the resurrection. And so that's something that we reconnect with every Shabbat. We reconnect with it every holy day. We reconnect with it on Tuesdays when we come here for Torah time. I mean, every time we are in the Word, we reconnect with all that. All right, Brian. And I remembered your name this time.
Shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom.
You did an excellent job of covering a lot of the questions. The thing I had here was a commentary, Jewish commentary. Jewish commentary. And I kind of thought of yourself and the ministry that you're doing here, and I was wanting to kind of share it. It says, after the laws of Tuma, which is ritually impure that results from animals, the Torah turns to the Tuma that emanates from the human beings. The first subject discussed is that of a woman who gives birth, because the beginning of life, and it's the beginning of life and the start of the Tuma process. This creation of life is the most sublime, inspiring phenomena in the universe. By bringing into being, man and woman become partners with God, who gives a soul their offspring, a soul to their offspring. But this new life begins with Tuma, spiritual impurity, to show people that mere life is not enough. That a life is a tool for the service of God, otherwise it is nothing. After this period of contamination, the new mother begins her cleansing process, culminated by the bringing of an offering. Before she brings it, she cleanses herself. Then I thought, with your ministry, but the mere absence of the contamination is not yet the fulfillment of the goal. The human aspiration must rise higher than the elimination of the negative, but must strive for a positive achievement, the offering. One must not completely cleanse, or will be completely cleansed until one has come into the resting place of God's presence with an offering that represents atonement for the past and dedication for the future. It finishes up here. These offerings and rituals symbolize the birth, inaugurates the beginning of an ongoing privilege of raising the newborn child to a life of dedication and holiness that will enable God to say to the child and parents, you fulfill the purpose of the entire work of creation.
Interesting. Amen.
Yeah, I thought of all the teachings I've been listening to and why you're not nice. That's very good, because I remember when my wife and I first met you, we had commented that it seems very harsh over the teachings, but you're really a nice person to get to know. And the other thing in this portion was that she brings 2 offerings. And just to throw it out there, it atones for 2 kinds of sins. The elevation atones for the resentful thoughts she may have had against her husband and even creator during her labor pains.
Maybe.
And then the sin offering Possibly for the fact that in her agony, she swore to never live with her husband again.
There you go.
So I just thought that was kind of cute.
That is cute. And actually, a lot of that is in, if you have a Chumash, which is the Jewish first 5 books, or if you have a Tanakh, in the commentaries, you'll get to read a good chunk of what Brian read, because I've read that. So, and the Tuma is so Tameh is the state. Tuma is the thing you did to make you unclean, okay? So this, so you kind of get into words. If in the Hebrew, it's still the same root letters for Tameh and for Tuma. Okay, so just kind of help you out with that. And look, I want you to think about every time, now this is only if you're old enough and you listen to people that are old enough, talk about the harsh, quote unquote, strict way they were raised and some of the beatings they may have gotten, etc. But they always, basically the people, when you hear them, they always talk about how it helped them to become what they are. Right? Now, do you ever hear the people say that about the soft way they were raised by their soft parents who let them do almost anything? You never hear that speech. You don't hear the speeches about how much I'm the man I am today because my parents let me do anything I wanted. Okay? But you do hear the ones where I'm the man I am today or the woman I am today because my parents were like, and were strong, and they weren't always nice about it, but they loved you, and they did what they did. And so it's amazing how often you hear people talk about, man, my father would do this to me, and my father would do that to me, and yet they said, and you know what? And now I look back and I appreciate that it helped me to get the discipline, to understand what I needed to do, etc. You don't hear that about the parents that were soft. That's just a fact. You can't remember anybody ever saying that speech. But I know you've all heard the other one. Or said it yourself. You know, because you look back and say, I didn't like it. Like Scripture says, when I was in the middle of it. Nobody likes the discipline when you're receiving it. But yet, it's part of what helped me to become what I am. And give me that strength to recognize, don't do this, do this. And we have a lot of children today that have no idea how to do that, don't do this thing, because nobody ever really made them understand the seriousness of that. Because I can tell you, anybody over 50 probably can tell you a story about something they did only once. Maybe 2 or 3 things they only did only once. Because what they got for doing it was very clear that they wouldn't do it again. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And you did it only once. Most kids today, once is never enough. 20 times is not enough. They're just going to keep doing it. They don't listen because we're too nice. I'm not telling you to go be mean to your kids. I'm just saying the consequences are not there. I watch parents today, they can't listen to a child cry for 10 seconds without having to try to figure out how to get them to stop by giving in to them in some way. And I remember growing up as a kid, I cried myself to sleep many a time. I felt my mother could care less. Now, it may have been tearing her up inside. I didn't know, but she never came up to check on me. Never once. Good, go upstairs and cry. Bye. Okay? And then I learned something. It didn't get me my way. So I stopped all that noise for no reason. And I wasn't screaming because anybody hurt me. I was screaming because I wasn't getting my way. And guess what? If you scream because you're not getting your way and somebody gives you what you wanted, you're not going to stop screaming. I stopped screaming because it didn't work. Your kids keep screaming because it works. Think about it. You give in. But my heart goes out to them. No, it doesn't. Your heart goes out to you. Come on, be honest. Because you cared about them, you wouldn't give in. You care about you. It hurts your feelings to watch them suffer. You feel bad. It's all about you. Oh, but I care about them and I feel so bad. No, you feel bad for you. If you feel bad for them, you let them suffer, have some consequences, and learn a lesson. And then maybe they grow up before they were 30. Okay? But you're too afraid something's going to happen to them. Well, how are they going to learn if nothing ever happens to them? Think of all the things happened to you. You lived. You survived, and you learned. You had to touch a few stoves that were told were hot, and you touched them anyway. And you got burned a few times. But we want to bubble wrap our kids and protect them from everything that doesn't give them any opportunity to ever be ready for the world. Then one day they're going to leave your house, and they're going to be sitting around going, and next thing you know, they're back in your house. Because that's the only thing they know how to do, is be in your house where you take care of everything and you handle all their problems, and then they can't go out. And you think you're ready for the kingdom. How many of you actually have your act together? Have your lives together? Have your finances together? Have your relationships together? Have your health together? How many have anything in your life together? What are you waiting on everybody else to do? I get people call me up every day, not every call, but at least every day, who absolutely don't need anything from me. But they don't know what to do because they never had to deal with trying to figure it out for themselves. And then when they call me, I'll tell them, well, you need to figure it out. And they're like, no, tell me. There's nothing to tell you. Go figure it out. I do know the answer. I know what you should do. But no, you need to. I'm not going to just enable that problem. To be independent, you have to go figure it out. And by the way, go figure it out means this. Go find the expert in your problem, which, by the way, I may be, and that's fine. But if I'm not, I'm going to tell you that you need to go figure it out. All that you need is out there. Everything that's ever been needed has been written, videotaped, published, free on YouTube. Or something. You can find everything you need. It's already out there for anything, including these teachings, right? They're all out there. But at some point, we got to own that, all right? Okay, Shira. You're welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi. And as you said it, I so appreciate being under a leader who cares about my soul enough to get in my face, even when you don't know you're getting in my face. I'm back there smiling. But it works. And the whole thing about Sa'arat in the walls of the house, it just came to me as you were speaking about how we raise our kids. The house, the household, it could easily represent the children, the grandchildren, that you've said before that generational sin is behavior that's learned from the parents. So I just see the Sa'arat possibly in the walls of the house being a symbol of it's in your genealogical house.
Yeah, absolutely. That could certainly be. All right, awesome. Okay, Gary and Grayson, we'll get a couple from the live stream, and then we'll come back out here.
From Donna Stevens, chapter 12, verses 6 through 8. How is the sin offering connected to the cleansing of the body after childbirth?
Okay, because he said so. He doesn't tell us. It's just the particular offering he wants you to do. Okay, now bear in mind, sin is a very, it's connected, okay, to the things that make you tameh. It's going to be either sin or death, okay? And so anytime there's bleeding, and there's blood like that, there's a connection to death. The monthly cycle, there was an egg that no longer is viable, right? Because there's a releasing of the egg. So there's no sin there, but there's death. So it's going to have the same, when he says the sin offering, he's telling you the things that you already know about the sin offering. I don't need to retell you now with another name. Do that. So then you know the process, protocols, etc. for the sin offering. Okay, remember, the sin offering also is for unintentional sin. It's not intentional sin. And so this is not something you did like that was wrong and on purpose or anything, but this is something that because you lived life, you had this giving birth, and then it puts you in this state, and this is the offering that's required. So he's just letting you know the type of offering to do. Okay?
From Donna Stevens, chapter 9, verse 1, and chapter 12, verse 3. And on the 8th day, because Israel are going through new beginnings, number 8, is this helping us recognize the need to cleanse and elevate ourselves in the conditions of life?
Yes to the statement. I'm not sure that has to do with the fact that they're saying on the 8th day. The 8th day, the reason we think of the number 8 as new beginnings, we look at how many times the number 8 is used and what's happening at those times. Same thing like 7 and 3 and 10 and other numbers you see come out in 40. These are numbers you see scripturally all the time. And you see what they're connected to. So yes, this is a new start for the priesthood. This is a new start for the baby, the 8th day. Okay, it's after the cleansing is done, and so you have these ideas of new beginnings. As far as us, we should always be looking at all of our moments that we go through this process of going from Tameh to Tahor, which means that we're going to be starting anew. We get that especially when we go in the water, when we do the mikvah, and we come out new. Okay, what else?
From Mark S., chapter 13, verse 59, why the priest did not give any medicine to heal, and why not our Heavenly Father heal their skin disease?
Okay, I think I answered that because it's not a skin disease. Okay? It's not a medical problem. That's why they're not treating it medically. All right, go ahead.
From Shamash, why, knowing that Sa'arat is in Leviticus 13 as sin-related, could this be why in John chapter 9, verse 2, the taught ones assumed blindness could be sin-related, a carryover for malformities?
Well, no. Look, the Sadat was something that you didn't get born with. It was something that came later. It was something that would manifest itself. There was this idea that those that were born infirmed, there must have been something that brought that about. They didn't understand genetics in terms of how when things come together, there can be a malfunction in replication and where you get these birth defects and other things. So you end up with blindness and deafness and other syndromes. I have a nephew that has a chromosome short problem on one of his chromosomes and gives him certain problems. And so they didn't understand all that. They just assumed everything was from the spiritual side, and therefore we didn't have a time and chance thing play in there or anything else. And that's why Yeshua said, look, this person didn't do anything. However, they were allowed to be in this condition so that I could heal them and you could get to witness it. Okay? And so, but the natural thought for them was, well, who sinned, him or his parents? And he's like, that's not always the case. He explained it to him right there. All right, next.
Last question, was the mother separated from her newborn for 7 days after birth?
No, I don't think that would be the case. All right? What I'm just saying is when you're doing the circumcision is done with other people involved. And that's where her status would have been more important. Okay? Not her interacting with the child. She would have been interacting with the child from the moment the child came out. All right? Okay, Ashley.
Thank you, Rabbi. If I may, about the nice thing, I just wanted to comment, there's no nice way to get to the kingdom. It's not nice to coddle your kids, because if you do that, you're not going to go and you're going to create generational dysfunction. And it is so, speaking from myself, it is so hard to rewrite your life and how you should be handling yourself. And if you can just start right from the get-go, it's going to be much easier. And I just wanted to say thank you for everything you do, and thank you for everything you do for us, because if we didn't have your correctiveness, if we didn't have your, back, the slaps or whatever you want to call them, it gives you drive, and it's enough sting to go, ow, I don't want to do that again, or enough disappointment to go, I don't want to do that again. And, I just thank you. You're getting us to the kingdom, and it's not pretty. And if you make it there, then it's good job, trustworthy servant, and that's all that matters in the end.
Amen. All right, listen. There's a problem emotionally, okay, that we have. when we are corrected or when we get that stinging response, we, instead of recognizing that every father loves a child, disciplines that child, right? He always says, just like a father disciplines a son. So instead of realizing that you are loved, and that's why the verse is there, so that when you get disciplined, you realize it's not rejection, it's love. But you guys often go to rejection. So when I corrected someone the other day who should have registered on time, the person said, well, you don't want me, so you don't want me to come then? See, right to rejection. No, I'm sorry, they didn't say. They said, well, if you don't want me to come, that's okay. I said, I never said I didn't want you to come. I said, what is your reason for waiting this long? And then gave me a lame excuse, and I said, that's a lame excuse. You've had more than enough time. See, but you don't want that from the person who's, you just want me to provide you with Shabbats and provide you with feasts and provide you with, and provide you with, and provide you with. You don't want anybody to tell you, I want you to aim higher. I want you to do better. I want you to become him. Okay, but you don't want that because that's not comfortable. And so instead, you jump to what you've been practicing most of your life, which is the feeling of rejection. He corrected me, so he must not really like me, and he doesn't want me, and he doesn't want me to be here, so I'll just go away and never come back. And a lot of people do that, and it's sad, and it's dumb. Okay? It's foolish to do that. You get corrected, you should know that's because the person cares and believes you can do better. Okay? I think that's such a missing element. Go turn on any of these teachers out there. You're not going to hear anybody actually getting in anybody's face. Because after all, they might lose followers and then they'll lose money. It's all about the money for them. Because they have the complete disconnect that any money is coming from you to them. Any money is coming from him through you to them, right? And if they're going to look at you as the source of their income, they're going to treat you in ways they think will make you happy and not dare to talk about something that might ruffle your feathers. I watched live at a conference that I was sitting at a table with other teachers, watched them all duck the challenging questions that might ruffle a feather, so I answered them. Because the person wanted an answer. There was a microphone right in the middle of the table. Unless the person was directly asked, because the person may have said, I want to ask you or I want to ask you this question. If it was just a general question for the panel, the microphone was just sitting there. And I watched people push away from the table. So I reached over, grabbed the mic, and answered the question. Ruffled a few feathers, did whatever was necessary at that point to answer the question truthfully and openly. But I was very sad to watch the lack of willingness to say what has to be said and maybe ruffle a feather because whatever the motivation is. I don't want to assume. I can only assume they're thinking about their CD sales and their DVD sales and whatever else is going on. And that's very sad and unfortunate. You need to say what you need to say. And when people ask a question, if you can, you should answer it and answer it straight, even if they're not going to like the answer. And so instead of being all mad and not liking my personality, you should be praising every minute that Abba gave you a teacher who's not afraid to say what has to get said no matter what. All right? Because there are very few of us out there that will do that. That doesn't make me right about everything or wrong about anything. I'm just saying at least I'm going to say what needs to be said, in my opinion, as best I can. I'm not going to try to hurt anybody's feelings. And I almost always, you can ask Elder Billy or those that are going counseling with me, if I smack you really hard, I always turn around and say, but you can do this. You messed it up, right? Those of you that counsel with me, okay? Yeah, you might get a pretty strong, you know that was your fault. You need to not do that. You need to fix that. But I believe in you, and you can do it, and you know you can do it. And then I'll give you the encouragement with the correction. And you always get that. But you're afraid you're only going to get the correction. And then sometimes people don't hear the rest because they've already shut off when I gave them the correction. They shut off because now they feel rejected. And don't turn this into a Christianity thing where, well, they had the spirit of rejection. There's no such being, okay? You've practiced through your life defaulting to this feeling of being rejected because people have rejected you. But that doesn't have anything to do with you. That had to do with them. They rejected you because of their problems, not because of you. But you started to take it internally and decided you were unworthy in some way. So you're not surprised when people reject you. Well, everybody else has. Why wouldn't you too? And that's what I say to the person, no. Like the person who said, well, if you don't want me to come, I said, no, of course I want you to come. I also want you to remember this moment next year when you register for the feast on time. Okay? I have to tell you, I never, ever want to say no. Ask my staff when people want to come. I try to never say no. However, it's really challenging when we start getting close to the event and all of a sudden a bunch of people want to come and we don't have enough food or we don't have enough crafts for the children who are now in the program. We don't have enough of something that we just can't instantaneously get at the last minute. And so I have to communicate to you your level of disrespect when you could have and didn't do things in a timely manner, as was asked and pleaded with you, right? But then you'll take that wrong. And yet the staff comes to me all the time. Somebody just called, can we fit him in? And I always say yes. We're a ministry. We don't mind really being inconvenienced. I know somebody thinking, but you're whining about it so much. No, I'm trying to make a point. That you shouldn't be the cause of an avoidable thing like that. It's not like I said it today and it's next week. I said it for 5 months. I do this every feast. I start announcing the next one within a month of the last one. So you have plenty of time. Matter of fact, I will be announcing Shavuot here before we even get to Passover, just so you have time to plan for it. I'm working on that now so that you can plan. All right, Brian.
Thank you for that, Rabbi. That really gets me fired up. There's a whole lot of things in there. I'll try to keep it quick. But the problem is we're so full of self. And you would think that when those of us recognize you as an anointed appointed, that we would be full of joy to receive instruction. You know, we're called to receive good instruction, not nice instruction. And I know it's hard to believe, you know, in these days and age, but definitions change. They become twisted over time. The word nice does not mean good. It is not synonymous with something that's pleasurable. The word nice means foolish, ignorant, frivolous, and senseless. So Paul wasn't calling the Galatians anything other than nice. Oh, you're so nice. Yeah, because you're stupid, because you're not listening. So I would actually be afraid if somebody were to say, oh, he's such a nice boy.
Now, we're going to the original understanding of the definition of the word, not how it's being used today, and we've had it twisted. Right.
So I say that because, based off of what I said in the beginning, we shouldn't be looking for somebody that's going to tell us what we want to hear. We're not going to grow. We're not going to be challenged. We're not going to have that iron sharpening iron. If we're supposed to endure to the end, what is there to endure when your so-called teacher is just smiling at you and saying, well, if you give me your money, I'm just going to tell you everything you want to hear. There's no growth there. You know, you can go anywhere and receive that type of instruction, but this is the only place that I know of that you can receive good instruction, see the fruit of it. I've been corrected several times. There's been several times where I've gone into counsel, and I knew what I was going to hear, but when I was receiving it for a split second at that moment, was it pleasant? No, but immediately afterward, when you see the fruit of that submission, the fruit is plentiful. So we need to trust, once again, that Yahweh has brought us here under this structure and move forward and see the fruit from that. There's nothing more freeing than having a covering that's willing to go before the Father and intercede on your behalf. We're happy to call him rabbi. We're happy to call him this, and that. And we're happy that he intercedes on our behalf, but whenever it comes to instruction, why are we not receiving that with joy?
Amen. Amen. Look, I want to just reword something. He said that we shouldn't go to somebody because they're going to tell us what we want to hear. Actually, you should go to somebody if what you want to hear is the truth. What you shouldn't do is go to somebody who's going to make you feel the way you want to feel. Let's change that a little bit. Okay, I want somebody that's going to tell me what I want to hear, provided what I want to hear is reality. I want truth, I want reality. Now, I shouldn't care how I might feel about it when I get it. Because I may love it, I may hate it, but it is what it is, right? And so don't chase a feeling. You want the truth. And all of you claim that. You talk to your friends, well, I ended up here in this walk because all I wanted was the truth. Well, that's maybe how you feel about this book, but you want the truth that goes beyond the book and goes into application. Some of you will ask me to pray for you. You know, that's all well and good. Better if you just listen and do what I tell you to do when you counsel than asking me to pray, because that's you offloading it from you to me. So you're hoping I'll pray, he'll hear it, and then you won't have to do anything. Instead, you come to me, and I give you whatever guidance I get from him for you, and that is what you should be excited about. That's more powerful than me praying for you, because I'm in prayer counseling you. Every moment of counsel, I'm in prayer. Abba, give me the right words to say. What do they need right now? That's so much more powerful than anything I could pray by myself away from you, or even just pray in front of you, because it requires you then to take action. And I do pray for people all the time. But a lot of times when you ask for prayer, it's because you want it to be something from the outside fixing the problem. Not always. I'm just saying, often enough, you're wanting prayer because you're hoping it will cause the situation to no longer need you to take action. It takes the onus of pressure of actually the responsibility of doing something off of your shoulders. And that's not going to help you. You just want the truth, that's the truth. Okay? And that's, hopefully with most of you, if not all of you that are here for the last 20 years or 10 years of recent memory, the last 10 years, that's all I give you guys is the best I understand truth, reality. No sugarcoating, no making it worse than it is or better than it is. It just is. And our Elohim is very harsh at times, feeling. It feels harsh. I'm not saying he is, but it can come across that way. He calls Israel a bunch of maggots in Isaiah. That's pretty harsh. And that's a word that means the kinds of things that crawl around in dead things. Okay? We're not talking about the stuff that crawls around in grains and stuff. We're talking about the stuff that's in dead animals, that's like crawling through and everything. That's an ugly picture. But he's the one who loves them the most. And he's trying to wake them up. And he was willing to have Babylon take them and Assyria take them. And all these other things happen out of love. It doesn't make sense to our immature fleshly mind. But we have to believe it. We have to trust it. We have to know that it's true. Okay? Rocky.
Thank you, Rabbi. So, this fall will be 3 years since I've been Torah pursuant, and I've been watching your teachings. And there's one thing about you that I've never heard in any other teacher, that kindness. You had such kindness that you even identified the Antichrist for me. And no one has ever done that. And you've helped me so much in this last 3 years that I just can't even hardly explain. And you really haven't done nothing extraordinary. I've shared a few things with you on the phone, and I've been here and talked to you, but it was nothing, out of the ordinary. It's just a little guidance, and you always basically point, hey, that's the right way, or no, go over this way. Right? there's one thing I just wanted to tell you publicly, is I love you. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I want you all to understand, the most important thing Rocky said was that in finding the teachings and finding what was going on, he made the effort to interact. He made appointments. He comes and visits on a regular basis and almost always makes sure to get an appointment, or makes the calls when he needs to make a call. And that's the thing that a lot of you won't do. You won't make the time to give me an opportunity to get to understand you well enough so that I can give you some helpful guidance and things. But you have to be vulnerable enough to do that. Look, he started off, his vulnerable part when he first came was, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm drawn to you. I don't understand any of this, but I'm here. That's what he started out with. Now he's standing up there telling me that he loves me. That's a journey, okay? Because I remember the first times where he's like, I'm here. This is weird. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I don't know what the deal is with you, but it's this an itch I can't scratch. I got to keep coming. And that was where it started, right? And so I really appreciate that. Okay, Grayson, you got any more online?
There's a comment from Shamash Waffle. Rabbi is like a burnt marshmallow, hard and crusty on the outside and soft and mushy on the inside.
And one day, if we're at a campfire, Steve, I'll show you how to make the perfect marshmallow. Okay. All right. So, and my mother taught me, my mother liked to burn the marshmallows, and she would peel that outer layer off and burn it again. And she could 6 times she could do that off of one marshmallow. She didn't try to get it just golden brown, just right in the fire, blow it off when it's on fire, and peel that off and eat the charcoal off the outside. That was what my mother did. But I can make them perfectly golden brown, no black, no fire. Takes a lot of patience, though. It's like the zen of marshmallow making, You have to sit there very patiently and really slowly, just far enough from the heat, and it takes a while. It's very patient. All right, what else you got?
I believe that is all.
Okay, over here. Esther.
Okay, so with the Torah portion, so how do we apply this, right? Because a lot of the times, if it's sin, should we be constantly an evaluation of ourselves physically and be bringing that to you to evaluate for question, do you see something there that this could be a result of, or is it specifically we have to know what we're due, okay, so how do I identify it to be able to bring to you? We know we need to come to you with it. We don't technically, look at our flesh for things to bring to the priest or whatever. So how would we apply that, modern day, to evaluate the sin?
All right. So when it comes to things like this today, first you want to assume there's a medical issue. Okay, so if you're actually dealing with something physical, something's not right physically with you, whatever it is, not just a skin thing, it could be anything. There's something going wrong. You want to address that from a medical point of view first. You still may want to consider the possibility that there's a spiritual aspect. All right? There may or may not be, but there may be. So you may want to then at some point have a conversation, especially if getting the thing fixed that in the normal traditional way of maybe going about it isn't working very well. There may be something more to it than just the physical ailment. And so that's when you would then come to me to then allow me to converse with you and all I do when I converse with you is I'm going to ask a lot of questions to try to get down and figure out if there's anything that could be underneath. Okay? And I'm a very, very, very adept onion peeler. Okay? Because the problem is not usually 1 or 2 or 3 layers down. You got to keep peeling away and peeling away. All right? Because a person will say to me, blah, blah, blah. I say, no, that's not the problem. Yes, it is the problem. No, that's a symptom of the problem. Let's dig underneath that and figure out what's going on. And then they'll give me another symptom that was causing that symptom until we finally get down to what probably is causing the problem. But a lot of times, you guys, it's almost like the way we've been marketed to. NyQuil's the best proof that I can give you for this, because NyQuil says it handles all of these symptoms. It doesn't claim to cure anything or treat anything. It minimizes symptoms. And that's our society, is that we want to deal with our symptoms. You don't want to deal with the problem. You take something like NyQuil, you're not going to be doing a single thing to handle your problem. You're going to minimize the way you feel in terms of those symptoms. So maybe you don't have a headache, and maybe you don't have the runny nose, maybe you're not coughing as much. That doesn't mean that you fixed anything. It's just muting the symptoms. And so you'll come to me and tell me you have a problem, and all you'll describe to me is a symptom. And then I'll dig underneath that, and then you'll give me another symptom that was causing that symptom. And it takes a while to get down far enough to realize what really is the cause of those symptoms. And so, that would be the way I would handle it, is to say, okay, first I'm having some health issues, so go to the doctors. Go to whoever practitioners that you normally would go to. Deal with your problem from a health, physical point of view. You should always be asking a question about everything. Is there a spiritual aspect to this? Is Abba allowing this at the very least, or causing it to get my attention? He may be. Maybe he's trying to get you to slow down. Certainly possible that was why he allowed me to get so sick last year, didn't get me to slow down. And I really couldn't move at all for, a bunch of weeks. Okay? And so, that could have certainly been the cause. Did we lose the stream? Because my screen went down. I'm not getting anything from you. Oh, you're fixing it. Okay. All right. So hopefully you understand that let's not go like we maybe learned, in previous places we've been, to just think everything is spiritual and there's nothing that's physical. It's a combination, usually, of some level. Address the physical things in the physical way, while also exploring if there's a spiritual aspect to that physical thing. There may or may not be. And sometimes it's just things happen. You get exposed to somebody with a virus and you get a virus. There wasn't any sin involved, or a bacteria that gives you a bacterial thing that's going on. Whatever it is, stuff happens. People have these things happen all the time, and it's not connected anyway to anything. But it could be, maybe your immune system's weak, and maybe it's weak because you have too much stress. Maybe your diet's no good, and you're not giving yourself enough to help you. It could be other things that you can look at. Just recognize having a disease or being ill is simply a symptom of something. And then we have to figure out what's causing the symptom. All right. Anything else, Grayson?
Nothing from the live stream.
Okay, good. Well, we can end early today, which is fine. Hope this was good. Otherwise, I'm liable to bring out the paddle, start smacking again. So we'll minimize that. All right, listen, I appreciate all the people who participated today. All the comments and questions were fantastic. Hopefully you received everything in the most useful way to help you become more Yeshua-like in your life. And so let's go ahead and have one of the guys go ahead and close us in prayer. All right, let's bring up Gary. You want to walk your way around here? He's got I wanted to make him walk. He's got a boot on his leg. He's not listening to the doctors by doing nothing. Go stand over here. All right, let's everybody go ahead and rise, and Gary's going to go ahead and close us in prayer.
Avinu Machenu, Abba Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to once again to take the time to come and to read your word and to study, to ask questions, and to try and look for things in your word to apply to our lives so that we may walk more and more upright before you each and every day. Father, we pray that you watch over us and keep us safe and bring us back to the next appointed time safely. We ask this all in the authority of Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, if you want to wave goodbye, come on this side of the room. If you don't, go on that side of the room. And we're going to face Esther's camera. Maybe not. The screen just went out. There we go. There it is. We're still here. All right. We got everybody on this side who wants to be here now? Good. All right, so on 3, we're going to tell everybody out there how much we appreciate them being a part of the congregation at large. We're going to wish them a Laila Tov, which is a good night, a Shavua Tov, which is a good week, and we're going to tell them that we love them. Here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3.